You are listening to the Ep2 podcast with M.Needom. Hi, gang. Donna here. Thank you for tuning into the Ep2 podcast. If you're checking it out via the podcast, we greatly appreciate you. And if you're checking it out on YouTube, even better, then you get the visual. Today's guest, his name is MAZEMENT, and he is part of the duo Real East Duo. It's a brand new conscious hip hop group, and they have a song called Something New. And in the podcast, we were joking around and said something new for 2022. Wouldn't that be a great motto? When you think about it, it is. We all want something new in 2022, don't we? You know, be done with the pandemic, all those good things. Anyway, we not only talk about his new single, we talk about how he had the opportunity to move to California to pursue his music after high school. He had people that were willing to give him a place to stay, and he had that dream to do it. However, there was a girl, the girl that was the one, and that kind of dissuaded him. And well, we'll get more into that story if you listen to the podcast. We also talk about the music industry, his record label, and his dislike for mumble rap. Anyway, check it out. If you really like the podcast, please tell your friends. You know, the bigger audience we get, the better we can do, the better shows we can do. And if you want to support the show, check out the Patreon page. It's only $5 a month, and you get a shout out on the podcast. So greatly appreciate it. And if you want to leave a review, that's even better. Or if you're following us on YouTube, you can comment on the videos. That's a great way to support the show as well. So I hope you like this episode. Mazement's pretty cool. We had a lot of fun doing it. So check it out. Hi, Mazement. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm okay. Now, you are part of the Real East Duo. However, we do not have a duo here.
I am 50% of the duo. The other 50% is either stuck in traffic, home with his newborn baby, whatever. He obviously wishes he could make it here. He's not here, unfortunately.
And that is Nerdy G.
That is Nerdy G. Yep. He's busy being nerdy somewhere else.
Well, with a newborn baby, that's kind of understandable.
Yeah, I don't blame him at all. I can't. I'm not mad at him.
No, he'll make it next time.
Absolutely.
So he told me that you, when you were a kid, you were on an ATV and you kind of got in an accident. I've been on ATVs. How and what did you do?
Well, I was a little rebel, and I had a friend over, and I was specifically told to not go past a certain gear. And I think it was like first or second gear, stay in that gear. Well, my parents had too much faith in me, because as soon as I got out of their sight, I kicked it up into fifth. I don't know how I hit the tree. I don't remember anything. I just know that it happened. But hit the tree in fifth gear, fractured my skull, broke a femur. I was in a coma for 3 days, had to get life started to Hartford Hospital in Connecticut. And my friend that was on the back fractured his spleen, I think. And I think he had one other injury. I just don't recall. But yeah, pretty bad, pretty gruesome. Lucky to be here.
I would say so. But the thing is, I'm going to say, as a kid, you did this. My husband, who was in his late 40s, one day I was not home, decided to put the riding lawnmower on a slope into sixth gear to see how fast it would go.
Oh, no.
He got ejected off of it onto the sidewalk. The rider ended up in the street, and he ended up messing up his arm pretty bad. Not any fractures or anything, but so see, you got that out of your system as a young guy.
Right. And it could have been so much worse, you know, like most people, I hear so many stories. I'm like, wow. And that's what makes me feel lucky.
Did you get back on the ATV, or were you banned from the ATV?
If anything, I banned myself. I don't know if it was a fear thing or just this uninterested after that. I've been around them, like even today at my parents' house for like my nephews and nieces, there's like dirt bikes and stuff. I have no interest in it at all. Matter of fact, I think it like my point on like those like ATVs and dirt bikes, everything, I'm like, it's kind of pointless because it's like a ticking time bomb. And I've already been, the
Yeah.
result of that ticking time bomb. So I'm not trying to do it again.
I used to work motorcycle claims. So while it seems really cool, you see in the movies the guy with the leather jacket riding the bike. I think of some of the claims I had, and it's like it's not so cool.
Right.
In California, now this one claim I will say, and I know this isn't on the subject, but it is kind of you'll be amazement. This guy was lane splitting. In California, it is legal to split lanes, and lane splitting is where you drive down the lane
Yeah.
with cars. Somebody
Right.
opened up their car door. This dude was doing about 60. He apparently somersaulted in the air and managed to stick the landing
Wow.
and not hurt himself. His bike was messed up, but he was okay.
Jesus.
I'm just like, are you serious? He's like, yeah. He's like,
That's
somebody was with me.
I guess so. I mean, I hope he doesn't try to do that again.
No, unless you're a cat, I would say.
Right. Yeah. Seriously. Yeah. I
No.
mean, if there was one positive to come out of anything to do with that accident, was that I gave the one helmet we had to my friend on the back. You know, um, granted, nothing worse happened to him. With me driving or whatever. I don't really recall everything about it, but I do
Yeah.
know that happened. That he had the helmet, and clearly I was driving. You would think if I had those injuries and he had his.
Yeah. But I mean,
Yep.
if he wouldn't have had the helmet, you don't know what would have happened to him. It could have been
100%.
worse. Yeah.
100%. Yep.
I mean, my stepbrother and I used to go ATVing. We go in the woods, and both of us have helmets. And the worst thing that ever happened, we got stuck in the slope, and it was muddy and wet. And I'm like, let me get off the back. He's like, no, I got it. I'm like, let me get off the back. No, I got off the back, and he fell off too.
Oh no.
We didn't end up hurt, but when we came home, my grandmother was just like, we were covered in mud. And she just looked at us mortified. But yeah. The worst that ever happened.
I feel like those all need to happen though. Like those experiences, like, cause obviously I rode a bicycle and stuff and crashed that after the ATV and stuff. Like all those things had to happen the way they did because it teaches you different things. Like kind of obviously it teaches you not to do certain things again, but it also just teaches you what these different things are capable of doing to you, like mentally and physically,
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think it kind of makes you realize that, hey, maybe I'm not so invincible.
Right. Oh, 100%. And that could have been my issue when I was 7 years old when it happened. Who knows?
Very possible. Very possible.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, we do stupid things when we're young, and sometimes when we're older, but
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. And even now with like kids, when I see them, and I see them that age and they're so daring, I'm like, now being, 30, 31, I'm like, I kind of relate to what it is, but I don't understand why they're doing it. I'm like, wait, why is this kid being so annoying? Why is he being a rebel? Why is he? But it's funny. Like I have to really sit down and think about it. I'm like, oh yeah, I was the same exact way.
Well, and then dare I say, and you might be part of that generation. I'm trying to think. You might be. The whole jackass craze.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yep. Oh, I was making videos like that too, way back. Yeah.
But I'm talking about the tapping of certain parts of the anatomy.
Oh yeah.
my husband would always be like, why are they doing this? It doesn't feel good.
Oh, I never went that far with it. Some of that was just nuts.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what we're talking about. So no pun intended. But yeah, I mean, it's just sometimes you just look at people and go, what are you thinking? What are you really thinking?
The downfall is the downside to that would be if I did try that, it would be pointless on my part because I'm not getting paid nearly what those guys are getting paid to do it.
Very, very, very true. Very true. But, some people will do anything just for notoriety.
Right. Oh, especially nowadays, social media.
Mm-hmm. So you had the opportunity to move out to LA.
Yeah.
And why did you decide not to? I mean, you graduated college, right? And you had the opportunity to go to LA and you were going to pursue music, but something told you not to do it.
Yeah. So it was actually high school. And that was kind of what pushed me to think about the whole move to LA. And how it all sparked was I had a few friends that moved out there for music. And when they moved out there, they were like, hey, like, this is the music you're making is what's going on right now. You got to come out here. This is your scene. They literally rolled out the red carpet for me. Stay at my place as long as you need to until you find a place, until you get on your feet. You couldn't ask for a better offer, you know? And at the time, I was most likely the one thing that's always tied me down is like relationships, you know? So I
Mm.
most likely had a girlfriend at the time, or I was just starting a relationship, something that I'm like, oh no, I can't because then I'm going to leave this person or leave that person. Never having the idea in my mind that like she might still be there even if you go there, you know, you never know. But long story short, yeah, it didn't happen. And I think what I can't really blame it on the relationship. It was definitely more personal. It was probably fear of totally changing. You know, I didn't go at that point. I don't know if I even went around the country yet and experienced anything. So that could have been part of it, like unfamiliarity. You know, you never know. But definitely out of my comfort zone. To this day, I think about it and I'm like, what would have happened with my music? You know, if I did go there, where would I be today? It is a crazy thing to think about.
How did your friends do out there?
One of them manages a studio in LA right now, and then the other one works in the industry as well. So it's like, yeah, they're they're doing just fine.
So have you presented them with your new music?
Oh yeah, yeah. We talk periodically, like probably once or twice every quarter, and you know I update them. They haven't heard the new one that just came out, you know, something new, but they do catch everything else. Yeah.
I'm just wondering, it's always good to have connections.
Oh, 100%, especially in the music industry. It's like
Yeah.
all about who you know. So
Yeah.
I'm always trying to, you know, meet new people, see what's going on, new things, you know, part of like Nerdy G and I with Realist Duo, we're part of Rise Up Entertainment. And like as a label, it's like we work with anybody who's trying to work together to get somewhere. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
it's just a total collaborative. It's more so a collaborative than it is, you know, oh, here's a contract, sign this paper, hire that lawyer, hire this. It's like we don't really like that's there, but as an artist, we don't want you to focus on that. And I love that about this, you know, collaborative, I guess you could say.
When did you guys form your company?
So I formed it back in 2011 and then it slowly built up as like an entertainment company and I was more so for like event services, DJing and hiring bands, photo booths, all that. And then cuz I started DJing at 11. So when I when I built that up, it was doing well, but I never really the whole record label thing kind of scared me. I was like, that's too much. Like I need to learn more about that. Well, that's exactly what I did. You know, the next decade or so, I was just reading, researching, keeping up on, you know, current events and everything. And then finally, you know, within the past year or so, I opened it up as an independent record label. And so far, so good.
Well, and I mean, now, I've talked to a couple of other artists in the past about the fact that, radio is not necessarily where it's at anymore. And
Oh,
with all the
100%.
other opportunities there, having your own label would be a lot nicer
Right.
than giving money away to somebody else.
Right. Well, and I look at like sustainability and like longevity, you know, it's like with me being an artist, I'm only going to appeal to a certain audience for so long. Even at, you know, 31, like I'm always so critical of myself and I'm like, oh, it's so old for hip hop. You know, you're getting old. You got to like figure out your back, you know, what your backup option is. But really, I'm in the tier where I could keep going. But still, with that being said, I have a niche, you know, market, even Realist Duo, you know, we can only do what we do for so long. Even though we're just starting out, there is going to be an expiration date someday. So at least we have a company that everybody that's involved in the company can rely on, you know, because whether Nerdy G is just an artist here or I'm just an artist there, there's a position in this company for everybody that's involved, you know, and I feel like it helps everybody grow as artists and it also helps them grow professionally in the different, you know, different positions.
So where do you see yourself in 5 years then? I mean, are you looking to keep your focus on growing Release Duo, or is it the company that's going to be the thing that you push more?
I'd like to think that it's going to be a little bit of both. Like one's going to help the other. I'd like to think that it's going to be Realist Duo helping the company grow. You know what I mean? That's, I guess, my goal and our plan, the way it's written so far and the way, you know, we kind of spoke about it. Basically, let the group drive the company and the entity behind it. And then, you know, later on, you know, focus more on the company and what we do and start, you know, managing other artists and bringing other artists on.
I read somewhere that there was a collaboration with you and somebody else besides Nerdy G. Is that correct?
Currently?
Yeah.
Um,
If
okay.
not, I think it was somebody from Germany.
Oh, that's actually funny. So he's actually featured on mine and Nerdy G's song, the Realist duo that just came out called Something New. Joy from Germany. Yeah, he's definitely he's super talented.
That's what I thought, but I wanted to make sure because you didn't.
You know what it was? Like I do so many collaborations. I'm like, Jesus, what project do I got going on right now? That I got. I was like, which one is she talking about? It's totally like I would have said one, and you would have been like, who's that?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I know this is about Really Still, but how many groups are you working with? How many people are you working with? You know, are you producing?
Yeah, so it's funny. I used to work with this group called Divinity Low. That was years ago. That was kind of like I would say that was like my first impression into rap. You know, like if you listen back to, I think we came out with one single called Rage years ago. That was like I was talk rapping. Like I had no flow, I had no tone. I was just talking in the mic, and like let alone like the lyrics were okay, but the rapping I never recommend it to anybody. Like I always tell people I hate my old stuff. But the as for current production, I produce artists. I run a studio. I'm actually in it right now, Studio Red Productions. So I work with different artists as much as possible. I'm always looking to work with more. And having my own podcast, you know, Music Mondays with Mazement, I'm always bringing artists on and kind of, you know, in a way collaborating with them, not only on the podcast, but a lot of them get brought on the projects after as well. So I'm not only, you know, really Duo is the main focus, but Mazement and everything else extracurricular and all that I'm working on the side.
Who was your biggest inspiration as far as rap?
I think the Beastie Boys were the biggest, I think, when I was younger. And I say I think because there was a few. Like I always mention Mike Shinoda from Linkin Park because it all started with DJing, you know, and it all started with like the Executioners and the New York DJs at the time. I was watching them on TV and then boom, you know, the Executioners do a song with Linkin Park. And I'm like, oh, there's Mike Shinoda and, you know, the Executioners is pretty crazy. And that's kind of between that and the Beastie Boys at the same time and like DMX, just different rappers from different angles just caught my attention.
I got to meet one rapper once, and that was
Oh
Melly
yeah.
Mel. Melly
Oh
Mel
okay.
from so that's old school.
That's dope though.
Yeah, he was working with Duran at the time. They were doing a festival tour, and we were hanging out at the hotel at the bar, and we're talking to one of the backup singers, and Melly Mel walks over to the guy we're talking to, and my friend's sitting there. He's like, "Hey, introduce me to your friends." It was like, "You want to meet us?" So that was really cool. I mean, we just talked and everything, but that was neat. So,
that's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, you never know who you're going to meet. That's the way I look at it. You just never know.
You seriously don't.
So, what do you hope? I mean, is this just a one-off, the song, or is there going to be more? Is this an EP coming out, or what's going on with this? It's just a, you know.
That's a good question. I want to keep you on ice. No, I'm kidding. So what? This is definitely going to be more. This is the first of many. You know, Something New was the initial. We had so many plans. Like put it this way, Realist Duo has been in the works for a few years now. We've been in the studio working for at least 2 years now, and we had so many songs built up. It was one after another. Oh, this song is going to come out here. This song's going to come out there. It never happened that way until Something New came along, which was more recent than most of the others. And when Something New came on, we both like pretty much at the same time were like, this is our first song. This is the single. This is the debut that we have to release. And that's what's out now. And like in the future, we do have more in the coming months, you know, like within next month or so, you'll hear about the next one. And there's definitely more to come for sure.
Was it something, you know, holding you back, such as fear, that you did, or was it not good enough? I mean, why did you guys wait so long to release it if you had stuff already kind of prepared?
Yeah. So one mistake I've always made as an artist, starting out and everything, just with my Mazement stuff, is I always released projects that weren't really ready. And if they were ready, it was just like too rushed. The marketing was too rushed. There was no plan behind it. It was just like, boom, here's this. And then day later it's dead. Like didn't matter how many views or listens it got. I'm already on to the next thing, not promoting it properly or anything like that. I learned a lot throughout those years, even with the label, with other artists, I learned a lot, and I applied that to this group, and that's building up a catalog, and really believing in what you're doing, really believing it, and until you release it. Don't release anything you don't truly believe in. Like people say that all the time, but I was hearing it, but I wasn't really like, perceiving it. I was like, whatever. Looking back at all my songs, I'm like, I hate every single one. My tone was off, my flow was off, and that's why. Now when you listen to Release Duo or anything I'm putting out now, I'm like, yeah, that's my tone now. That's what I sound like. I'm confident with it because that's what I believed in.
Well, confidence has a lot to do with anything. I mean,
right.
whether it's just you're rapping or it's social media. I mean, putting yourself on social media is a huge thing. Now, are you somebody that put yourself on social media with just memes, or are you somebody that's very active, like on TikTok?
I do my best. I can say as an artist, there's definitely better recording artists with social media that maintain it, whether they have a different team, do it for them or whatever. I do my best with it and I try to keep it on schedule, but I also like the organic feel of social media where it's not so processed and like, oh, he posts every Wednesday at 7:00 and you never know what the heck it's going to be. It could be a meme or it could be a video on TikTok. Like for me, I'd rather post when I feel like posting, but make it so it is relevant and consistent. I think consistency is the key with social media and anybody posting. TikTok, I've done a few. And some of them were forced because it's like, oh, I got to do a TikTok. Everybody's doing TikTok. But then the last few that I did were more, like I was planning them out ahead of time. Like, no, this is good. It was just promoting this or whatever. I try to be as creative as I can with it. But there's, millions of more creative people on TikTok than me. I mean, I don't know how they come up with the stuff they do, but I do my best.
Well, and then you're competing against the algorithm.
Right. Yeah.
And then if somebody likes your video and they didn't watch it all the way through, you can be shadow banned. So
right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like there's so many different angles you have to take with your video and so many things you can and can't say. And even with other platforms like Facebook, I feel like if I post like a really cool picture, album cover or video, music video, and it doesn't get like one view in an hour, nobody's going to see that post, right. Unless it's like a true fan that goes on your page every day. But starting out, you're not going to have that, no. So it's like you need to put money in those posts if you want people to see them now. They want you to boost the post or create an ad with it to get their algorithm to kick in and get it to the people you want. It's crazy. Like for my grandmother to watch one of my videos, I'm going to have to boost it for her to see it. It's not just going to happen on its own. It's nuts. And Instagram is right behind it pretty much.
Well, Facebook now is Instagram's now owned by Facebook. So, yeah. And Facebook's weird because the other day I was talking to one of my friends today. I got something that I had posted in 2017. And like, this is against our policies. I'm like, it's 2021. It's right. 2017. This was posted and I forgot I even posted this. And now you're telling me no?
Right. Yeah, that's weird. That's kind of funny. I haven't had that happen yet. And I've had some stupid posts come up from like 10 years ago. And I'm like, why did I even post that?
Yeah.
Like those should have been illegal by how stupid they were, but they weren't. But you get red flags. See how that works?
Yeah. It makes no sense to just sit there and go, okay. Social media it's a different beast. And it's something that, it takes time and it takes finesse and it can become a full-time job. I was talking to, somebody who was on The Voice and he now has he was a singer beforehand and he's still singing, but we got into a conversation about social media and he's like, it could take up half your day. He's right. Like, you're still trying to do your job as far as, performing and being ready for your show and doing regular interviews, but then you have to do social media as well.
Yeah.
And I don't, go ahead.
No, and that's like kind of like it's a job. It's a day job 100% with the social media. And one thing I've learned through the label in the process is pre-planning everything. As much as how processed that sounds, it's pre-planning posts for months ahead. What campaigns are going on when? Like right now we have up to, what is it, February or March 2022 plan, which most labels actually have up until like freaking, this time next year plan. But basically what's going on around these certain months. If there's a single coming out around Christmas, plan all those posts now or this weekend when you're, in a car or something, just come up with different posts, plan them all. Cause that's one good thing about social media, that you can schedule ahead and that you can plan ahead with it. But that's like the biggest key I've learned. And in a way I'm getting better in that, but I also have like two podcasts, like multiple brands that I'm managing. So it's like, it's kind of hard to do it on all fronts rather than just one front. That would be so much less stressful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, the podcasting thing, I'm sure you've been told, oh, I want to start a podcast. It's pretty easy, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And actually when I started the music podcast, that started in 2017. And when I started it, I feel like I came in at a good time where it wasn't totally oversaturated. It was like pretty busy, but like as far as what I was covering, it wasn't, I didn't have too much competition. There was just a few of the big heads, but that's it. But the thing where I feel like I made the mistake is I was very social. Like I had major social anxiety at the time. So I was hiding myself behind like a pop filter and like reading a script technically each episode. Don't get me wrong, episodes were cool. I had like a few great guests on it, like Lee Evans from Jambox in the city, Jambox Studios. Shout out to them. But and I had a bunch of other guests on, and it was interesting, but it was, most of the stuff that was on my own, I was scripted. I was never like this until like a year or two ago. And then I was like, come on, if I want to make this work, I have to be, right up in their face and like give it more of a personal feel rather than, hide. Who's going to want to watch somebody hiding the whole time? It's just not worth a video.
Very true. Very true. It cracks me up because people are like, oh, well, I'm going to start a podcast. I'm like, okay, it's easy. It's easy, isn't it? I'm like, mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's easy.
Yeah.
This is the easy part.
Right. Oh yeah. No, and this is the this is the best part, but then people don't see what happens after this. They don't see how we have to edit this, we have to plan how we are going to release this, we have to plan all the posts after that for post marketing, and what are we doing to pre-market it. It's like they don't think about all that. They just think it's, oh, record, post. And if you do it that way and you're successful, record and post, congrats. Yeah, seriously, because I don't know how the heck it's working out for you.
No. And I mean, I'm going to be honest, I haven't been doing this for that long. I've only been doing this since March, and most people that I talk to are surprised because they're like, really? I have a background as a DJ.
Right.
I was an actual on-air. I was an on-air personality at two different stations.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah. So that's why this is easy for me.
Right.
But yeah, there's a lot of planning that goes with this. I mean, I have 3 different calendars for guests.
Right. Yeah.
And yes, I have to figure out how I'm going to play my episodes, because unlike just having a standard music podcast, my podcast runs the gamut.
Right. Yeah.
You don't know what you're going to get. So.
Right. Oh, 100%.
So yeah, it's a lot of, I don't mind it. I love it, but it's just one of those things where people I don't think they understand the bigger picture.
Talking about a day job, this is definitely a day job. You got to plan it and everything just the same as you would in your job, working, 9 to 5. That's how long a podcast pretty much takes, especially if you're totally devoted to it and you want it to succeed. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, and it's, everybody's like, well, you should be making money at it. That's another thing that doesn't necessarily always happen. So,
well, that's the thing too. Like, yeah, we should be making money at it. Yeah, we should. Like, why the heck aren't? I don't know, but we should. Yeah, you're right.
Would you like to contribute to my Patreon?
Yeah,
no, that's okay. Well, you said I should be making money.
Yeah, no, seriously. That's when you go, I guess I shouldn't be making money on it. Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like, you hear some podcasts, like I've heard them recently, like, and I'm not one to judge. Like, I listen to everything and I give it the equal amount, of respect until, I listen all the way through. But, so one of like a few of the podcasts I just streamed through, I'm like, wait, how do they have ads? I'm like, did I just hear a McDonald's advertisement? I'm like, how the heck did that happen?
Yeah.
So like, I've actually gone to the stretch and I like email them. I'm like, how did this happen? I'm like, how did you get that? Like, what did you do? Because it's like some of them you don't understand where they get, the credit that they have or the fan base that they have. It's like, wait, like they don't have any structure. There's no system in place for that podcast. It's not organized at all. Like, I don't know how some of them have the listeners they do, but it's just, I guess it's a niche, they have their market.
Yeah. I mean, some people, they will listen to whatever resonates with them, and that's it, I mean, or or it's family and friends. Who knows?
Right.
Who knows? But it is an interesting thing that you have to try to find sponsors, and you have to try, which, being so new, I still have to do that eventually. But, going back to, I'm an author, and people are like, well, $4 for a book. You pay $4 for a cup of coffee. The book's going to last you a lot longer than the cup of coffee.
I'd say $4 is a deal for a book. Jeez, I couldn't imagine writing one.
Well, that's the thing. Nobody actually ever considers how much goes into, like, the podcast. You see the book. You don't think about the cost of the editor, the cost of the cover art, and then the time it takes to write a book.
Right.
So, and then, of course, go ahead.
It's too bad that, like, the hard work doesn't get recognized in every aspect too, because it's almost like with our podcast and everything. It's like you believe in your podcast so much that what sponsors would appeal to your podcast. Same with me. I know which sponsors, and I do believe that they would love being a part of the podcast. But they have it down to such an algorithm now that they get into your stats and know exactly how many listeners you have. You could have hundreds, you could have thousands, but if you're not hitting on certain points during the month or something like that, that's how strict they are with these ads nowadays. And it's like, it sucks for us because we're like, yeah, but we're like putting our blood, sweat, and tears into this. You wrote a book or, probably multiple books. And it's like you've done all that hard work, not getting $4 for your hard work. It's like, damn.
Well, but it kind of goes along the lines of this. I have a friend who is a reader. I that's something else I do on the side is I read cards on the side. But she's like, I was invited to do this event, and it's for a shelter, animal shelter. Okay, so it's a good cause. She's like, and I asked her, I said, so what do I get out of it? She was just curious. Oh, well, you get exposure. And I'm like, oh, the old exposure thing.
Oh my God.
How many times as a musician or any other kind of creative person do you hear that? You get the exposure.
Right. And that's the hardest part, like with podcasting with guests and stuff, is like when I started mine, I was like, I remember that. And I was like, why would they want me to promote them? Like, because at the time I didn't have a label or anything. I was just like, musician with a podcast. And I'm like, I get like maybe 5 listeners, at the time. I'm like, why would they want me to promote them? They're not going to get anything out of it. But for some reason it was working. And then I got thinking about it and I'm like, this is not who I am. I'm promoting them, but I'm not giving them something that valuable that they can't do on their own. So that's when I offered more of the joining the network. Now when you're on the podcast, you're joining in, you collaborate. I'll send you producers, I'll send you artists, whatever you need, let me know. You're part of Rise Up now. And it's like, that's kind of like the biggest thing is like everybody that's been on the podcast pretty much becomes like part of the family, and we keep in touch, throughout the years. And that's like the funny thing though, is a lot, you're not joking about that, is like that exposure trick. People are still pulling it, and it's still going on to like podcasts that were less popular than you and I when we started this. It's like,
yeah,
I don't know how it's working.
Oh, and that's the thing. It's like, when you're 20 and somebody says, oh, but it's for the exposure. When you hit to be my age, I'm not going to say how old I am. I'll just say I'm over the 40 mark. It doesn't work anymore.
Right. Seriously.
It's like somebody sliding into my DMs and like, hi, beautiful. I'm not 20. It's not going to work. Sorry.
Yeah. Even for 20-year-olds, that might not even work.
It might not. But I mean, you wouldn't believe the guys that try that. And I'm just like, really? Seriously? Come on, dude. In fact, because Nerdy found me on matchmaker.fm, not .com. The other day, somebody actually sent me a message saying, hi, beautiful. And my response back to them was, this is not a dating site. I mean, this is a site where we connect podcasters and guests. This is not a dating site.
That's so funny.
I've gotten it on Pinterest. I've gotten it on Goodreads, places where you would not expect to get that kind of stuff. But Jesus. I give one guy credit, though. I saw this guy who followed me on TikTok yesterday, and he has one picture posted. And at the bottom of the picture, the caption read, "Here to find a good woman to marry me." And I didn't follow him or anything, but I thought to myself, at least he's being honest.
I guess that's straight to the point. Yeah.
He gets points for that. That's about it.
Yeah, Jesus, that's kind of ballsy though. It's like, I mean,
it is.
Sad thing is there probably are some women out there that jump to it though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. But we didn't want to talk about dating. Somehow that just got there. We're talking
I
about
have some dating stories. I have some dating
bring
stories.
it. Bring it.
No. So long ago.
I have dating stories as well. I will say this. I went on one date with a guy who came to my apartment. His mother was my landlord in the apartment complex. And I don't know if you know what a glass insulator cover is. The thing they used to have on telephone poles. They used to have wrapped around the wire. They would have.
Yep.
He hands me this glass insulator cover and says, "This means a lot to me, so here you go." This is our first date, mind you. And yeah, so then we go out to eat, and he's telling me, because I happened to order the same food that he ordered, that we were destined to be together.
Oh, Jesus.
Mind you, I was dressed up. He was dressed very down. No problem. We went to the mall after. I went to a bookstore, and he's like, "Why are we in here?" Okay. So he didn't like to read, which isn't a big deal. But the real killer is when you come back to my apartment, and he walks in and he's like, "Oh, look at your records." Kind of look through. I'm like, "I am just really, really tired."
Right.
Does not get the hint. Proceeds to look through the records and then tells me how he wants to really be a couple because Valentine's Day is coming up. I'm just like,
oh, jeez.
Nah. I think I was 22 at the time or 21. Yeah. Just like, no, dude, you're not picking up on the cues.
Oh, that's bad.
So see, you can share a bad dating story. It's okay.
Oh yeah. My thing is just I got way too invested in relationships, and like towards the end, before I met my wife, like the last few relationships I was in, I totally like was like, can I swear on this?
Yeah.
No, I was like an asshole to those girls. Like to this day, I regret it. You know, they were such nice girls, but I was just like, at that point, I was so hurt and so done with all my past relationships that I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but I was definitely like not who I am today. Where I look back and I'm like, wow, I'm lucky I met my wife when I did, because Jesus, like that could have gone really bad. But yeah, you know, like so many different stories from the earlier on relationships, but like that's what it turned out to be, and luckily I recovered in time.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, obviously your wife was meant to show up when she did, because otherwise, where would you be?
Right. Well, and that's kind of like the funny thing though about the whole California thing is like, I think it was her. Like, I think she was the one that I was just starting to talk to when the California offer came up, and I remember talking to one of my other friends, like that's a girl. I was like, hey, this girl I just met, she's like wife material. And she like laughed, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just not ready for that. And I was like, I want to be single. I want to just do my thing. But she's the one. And I told her that, like, I told this friend that. And like, I actually forgot that I even said that at the time. Like, I just kept going on with it. And then eventually me and my wife now then started dating a couple months later. And then once we got married, I bumped into that friend again within the past few years, and she goes, remember when you knew she was going to be your wife before you even started dating? And I was like, she like told me word for word the story, and I was like, wow. I was like, you're right, like I totally remember that. It's just kind of crazy how like when you know.
Yeah, I mean, now talking about this, I actually have a similar story as far as my husband, because I read his cards prior to us going out. We were just friends hanging out with another friend, and she's like, read his cards. And I'm like, no. And I'm like, so I did. And I told him some blonde was going to rock his world at the time. I was. And he's like, is that my ex-girlfriend? I'm like, I have no idea who the hell that is. I don't know.
You didn't get a name.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know. It was just, so a couple of months passed, and I had the opportunity, like yourself, to transfer because I'm doing the motorcycle claims. I have an opportunity to transfer to California. Stockton, California, mind you. I'd rather have been in Santa Monica or Los Angeles, but Stockton, right. It was going to be paid. And my husband, we weren't even dating, says to me, he goes, why do you want to go out there? And I'm like, cause I've always wanted to go to California. I've always wanted to live there. He goes, yeah, but do you really? And then for Christmas, he ended up giving me Star Trek Barbies, and no, we were not dating. And I know that seems crazy, but I wanted a Barbie collection. And I happened to mention that. So he gets me the Star Trek Barbies, which were just enamored by the little girl inside of me. And a couple of months later, we started dating. And we had 16 wonderful years together before he passed. But yeah, so I mean, but what I'm getting at, that's okay. But what I'm getting at is there's the story again. Once again, why didn't I go to California? I had it paid. They were going to move me out there.
Right.
And here's this guy who's really great.
In our defense, the things that are happening in California nowadays, we're probably better off not living there. Like, even the price of everything. I think like gas and like my brother's in the San Francisco area is like up to like close to $5 a gallon or something like that.
Wow.
And yeah, I forget what he said exactly what it was, but it was up there. It was like 4 to 5 in that range. I'm like, that's insane. Like I'm complaining about $3 a gallon. You know, it's like
I live in Illinois and it's $3.39 a gallon. And I have to say, I live in one of the highest I don't live in Cook. That's even worse. But where I live at, the property tax is one of the highest in the states. So I can officially say that my taxes on my house is higher than my mortgage.
Right. Yep.
It's like, when are you going to stop? I mean, I understand taxes are needed, but when I'm looking at the sinkholes in my city,
right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, where's this money going? Because then you look at California, the housing market in California compared to like, I'm in Connecticut and like right on the tri-state area. So I know New York and Mass as well. But, so when you look at the housing market in California and you look at the housing market here, like a $200,000 house here is worth $2.5 million in San Francisco area. It's like, how the heck is that even possible? Like it doesn't, like it's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when we moved into this house we got it for $102,000. And now because the housing market is blown up, it's over $200,000 again.
Yep. Same here. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Ours doubled.
But then when you look at, let's talk about and I've not watched a lot of them, but house hunting shows, all these house hunting shows. Oh, we're going to give you a budget of, my budget's $500,000 and I'm a school teacher. Really?
Yeah. Like the show didn't front you any money and like, this is not staged.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, come on. Who has this? You're a school teacher and you're making that kind of buck?
Right. Well, you talk to them, you talk to them like a year later and they're like, oh, where are you living? Oh, yeah, I live in this apartment in this place. It's like, what happened to that house? Oh, that was a paycheck. You know, just got paid to be on there. I was an actress.
Well, think about all the extreme home makeover show that they used to say that the people wouldn't end up with the house because of all the taxes that ended up being.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like different things not working. Like they had this automatic slide open, like closet door that would just stick and not come down or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like I heard a lot about that. Yeah.
And speaking of the music industry, and since we're talking about television, one of the people I interviewed was on The Voice.
Yeah.
And his coach specifically told him, you do not want to win. I know you're looking at me like, huh? That's the whole point, isn't it? No, you don't. Because the fact of the matter is they say if you win, you end up getting locked into a contract. You can't do your own music.
Right.
You have to do what they want.
Yeah. Yeah,
so you're better off.
You're pretty much signed to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had a few friends that were on there, and I remember hearing, without naming them specifically, I remember hearing different stories about the producers on the show pretty much running things. And if you want to be cool with anybody on that show, you want to be cool with the producers because they'll get you voted off. Not the fans, not the judges or anything like that. The producers will get you kicked off if you're not appealing enough or something like that.
Isn't that the weird thing about this? Everybody assumes reality TV is real, and
right, yeah.
It's not,
because the word reality is involved, so it has to be real. That's pretty much where the psyche comes from.
But you and I both know that just like a podcast, which I don't do a heavy edit on my podcast because I'm trying to keep it real. But how many times on reality TV are things edited so minutely to make somebody look like they're a bitch?
Right. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. There could have been a whole different conversation in that episode that happened, but the producer or whatever edited down to the worst parts of that conversation, and that's how that conversation went. And that's how the consumer sees it. Mm-hmm. When really, I bet you that person sits back and it was like, I was actually really nice. I said those two bad words. Like, what the heck? It's like,
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. And that's the thing about social media then, because then social media will take those two words and pop it into a gossip show. And then your whole reputation is made or broken by
yeah.
something that has been edited.
Oh, it's powerful. Yeah. Yeah. That's why
So,
people got to be careful what they post. Like,
yeah.
because some people don't really realize the consequences to what they post. There's some, I mean, I never posted anything that was like stupid or out. I mean, definitely stupid, but like nothing that was ever out there regrettable. But I definitely look back on some of the things I posted, like some of the music videos even that I posted when I was younger. And I'm like, yeah, it's not really relevant to who I am today. Like, I get it. It goes along with storylines and everything. But like, when I was younger, I did so much, so many stupid things that like I wouldn't want half of the people that support me today to see what I did back then, because it's
Yeah.
irrelevant.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, that's your past, and yes, your past kind of forms you, but there are certain things about your image now that you're in the public eye that you don't want out there.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Definitely. I was definitely, put it this way. I'm more respectful to others than I was back then. I was arrogant when I started out. I was so arrogant. I thought I was something I was not. And like just the difference that like listen to my music back then, I was just like, wow, how'd I even have that attitude? If I had that attitude, it should be now when I'm confident, not like back then when it sounded like that. It's like
But here's the thing. Was it attitude or was it imposter syndrome? Were you were
it,
you were you wearing a mask,
it could have been both. It could have been both. It could have been that like maybe I was seeing somebody that I wanted to be. I don't know, and it could have been just like thinking that I had the talent level to be that person. I don't know. It was just weird. I don't know what the heck it was, but whatever it is or whatever it was, I'm glad it's gone and I'm glad I grew. I'm glad I realized what that was and I moved on past it and I, changed who I was respectfully. Because I definitely wouldn't be doing music anymore if that was the case.
So has Nerdy G heard some of your older stuff?
So Nerdy G and I went to high school together.
Okay.
The funny thought of it was that in high school, I'm pretty sure he knew that I was rapping and he knew that I was DJing. He definitely knew I was DJing because I would DJ events for the high school and stuff. But there was no way in hell I thought he was rapping. There was no way. I mean, I'd talk to him in the halls. He was, a few years behind me, so I'd see him. I'd be like, "Hey, what's up?" Stuff like that. But I never like knew he would rap. And the funny thing is I didn't even remember this until one night we were working in the studio. He was in the booth here, and he's talking to me, and he goes, "Hey, remember in high school you would make freshmen sing if you were a senior." It was like you'd tell them, and it was totally bullying and wouldn't get past today. But back then, what is it called, hazing or whatever?
Yeah.
And yeah, and like you would tell a freshman, "Hey, get up and sing Star Spangled Banner up on that table," or something like that. And most freshmen would just be like, "Oh, okay," or some would put up a fight, but it would eventually happen. So I did to Nerdy. I was like, "Hey, Nerdy, go sing." I don't even know what song I told him to sing.
Yeah.
So he's telling me this one night. We're in the booth. He was in the booth talking to me, and he's like, "Hey, remember in high school you tried to make me sing?" And I was like, "Did I?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "We're whatever." And he goes on. And I was like, "Yeah, well, look at you now. Now you're in the vocal booth. It's like you come a long way." I mean,
and it's thanks to me.
Yeah, I was like, granted. Now, granted, in his defense, he didn't sing in high school. He ended up he put his foot down to me, which I'm glad he did. He didn't do it, but still, it was just funny how he's in the vocal booth telling me that.
Yeah.
But so he knew that I was rapping or DJing, whatever. I didn't know he had it in him until years later when I heard his stuff through friends or whatever, and I was just like, wow. Like immediately as soon as I heard his name was involved, I didn't even hear his music yet. I was like, you know what, we're gonna work together. I already know it. And then what do you know, we hit it right off. He came in and recorded, and Really's duo formed.
So you kind of listen to your intuition about things.
Yeah, a lot of the time. So sometimes it's hard to trust, but I guess when I get like a solid feeling on something, and I'm stubborn too, so that's the other thing. So like when I get an idea in my head, I like that has to happen. One way or another, I'm gonna make that happen. Like for instance, Nerdy G came out with a song called "Only Human," and in my head, I'm picturing us recording this music video at a castle, and I'm like, this is insane. I was like, there's no castles around here that are going to let me record them. Like, I was like, this is stupid. So I remember, I don't know if I had this conversation with him or my wife, but I was like, we have to come up with a plan B for that music video, because I'm just thinking out of the box. Like, this is just stupid stuff. Like, some of my music video ideas are just out there. What do you know? I find a castle and we can rent it out. We could shoot there. And that's what ended up happening. It's like, it's just, I don't know if it's stubborn or dedicated, committed, whatever you want to call it. It's like, it happens with everything. And now every time I get a music video in my head, I'm like, please, please, please don't be in like a freaking hot air balloon or like a, skydiving or something. Like, I'm trying to like think of stuff that like so out there and hard to record. I'm like, it's probably going to be some underwater or something.
And see, and that's the whole, when you look at production, all the, your shot tape, your shot sheets and everything else.
Yeah.
You have to look at the economics of it.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And that's the thing with music videos. It's not a good turnaround usually, especially starting out. It's like YouTube is algorithmic just like any other social media platform right now. So if you're not hitting and connecting the right dots and I guess appealing to the right audience, you're not going to see anything back on that, especially if it's your first or second video posted. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. And so many that are in the younger generation don't necessarily see that.
Right.
And they look at the algorithm and they're like, oh, look, I got all these hits today.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Tomorrow it's womp womp.
Yeah. Well, they're like Bieber did it. I'm going to grow a bowl cut. And then it just never happens. So it's like, dude, it's a little bit more than having the camera and having a bowl cut,
Right.
He had a lot of people. He had a lot of the right people around him when he did that, and they knew what to do and how to work it. That's what nobody sees, the behind the scenes.
Well, exactly. And the thing is, YouTube was more in its infancy then. So you weren't fighting such a big platform that it is now. But yeah, that's the one thing, the overnight sensation. Everybody's like, oh, the overnight, you hit it overnight. Did you really?
Right.
Did you have a team? Did you, how long have you really been doing this?
Right. That, and not even that, but overnight, like, I feel like a lot of people get that as a misconception too, because it's like overnight sensation. Yeah. But if you look at their video history, they had probably thousands of videos before that one. So it wasn't overnight sensation. Yeah, they might have gotten 1 million views in a night, but there was definitely people behind that were pushing the right buttons, like you said, 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, it's just, I think we have to look at it as, yes, while we can make contact with everybody socially via social media and make that connection, you have to understand you're fighting a computer.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not Skynet, but.
Right. Well, and I feel like social media has given different people as the consumers, it's given them the audacity to think that they have superpowers and that they can say and do whatever they want, because it's so easy to type a post on Facebook or post different things on Twitter. And it's so easy to type it because all you have to do is click send, a tweet, and boom, it's posted and your point got across, and people are either going to like it or they're going to hate it, but you got the attention you wanted. And that right there, that concept has just made social media crazy. I feel like people's like what do you call it? Like people are so crazy right now because of social media, like mm-hmm. People are going through going to see psychiatrists and stuff like that because of that concept and everything that's happening on social media nowadays. I feel like obviously there's people that have, mental health issues that aren't on social media, but I feel like a lot of what's going on stems from that. And it's because people just have the superpower now.
How many relationships have ended because of it? I mean, family relationships. Right. And what you said is there's a very, very valid story here. A person on TikTok posted that she got a 1-star review on Goodreads. Goodreads is a platform, if you don't know, that reviews books. So she got a 1-star review. But here's the thing about this 1-star review. The person didn't read the book. The person gave it a 1-star because it didn't like the genre it was in.
Jesus.
It wasn't that she read the book. It was just that I don't like the fact that you wrote it in that genre. So I'm going to give you a 1-star.
Jesus.
That would be like somebody who wanted a easy listening music to go to a review site for your band and say, I don't like it because it's rap.
Right. Yeah. Well, that happens. And a lot of nowadays, the hardest part is like telling people that like, oh, I'm a rapper or I'm a lyricist. I like saying lyricist because people don't really connect the dots with today's mumble rap with lyricism. They kind of take lyricist as something else. So I like that one, but I can't tell anybody I'm a rapper or I get compared to, Lil Yachty or one of these mumble rappers. And that's not me. I'm not for it. I never supported that rap. I talk about it all the time, but the thing is that's how people are grading music nowadays, especially in hip hop. That's how all these outlets, all these radio stations are grading hip hop nowadays. And luckily, there are a select few rappers, Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, Pusha T, they're coming out with like lyrical talent behind their albums, like really like creative concepts, artistic. It has a lot of artistic value. But then I go, independent artists, I go to submit my stuff or release duo stuff, and post stuff. And they're like, oh, you know what? Not what we're looking for. And I'm like, oh, sorry. Like, what are you looking for? Just so I know for future reference, and they're like, oh, well, somebody that sounds like Pop Smoke or something, mumble rap, mumble rap, mumble rap. I'm like, come on, man. Like, I'm like, I'm never going to do that, but that's just sad how it is. And they're only doing it because that's popular right now. They're not thinking like, oh, I have a following. I could kind of alter this. I could change things. If I truly think that that's talented, then I should play this. Not, Jerry down the street bumps it when he drives past my house, so I should probably play that. Like, it's just so stupid, so subjective.
But that's when you look at our media, that's how we are we not?
Right. I mean, no, 100%.
If a show hits it big, then we got to make another show just like that.
Right. Yeah. It's always modeling after one another. Even as a producer, if I'm recording, so and so in the booth tonight, and they sound like so and so, I'm gonna be producing it based off of that other person. Because you have to in a way, because it gives you, a success story to lean on. But the difference is, now that I'm saying this out loud, I'm like kind of thinking out loud. Difference is doing a show that's copying off of another show. That's a total copy thing, and some producers totally do copy other artists. You'll listen to a song and be like, wow, that sounds just like, Black Eyed Peas or something like that. When really that's probably what the producer was going for and shouldn't have made that noticeable, but they did. Which me as a producer, I will look at this other person and take the elements that I like on that artist, what they did and different things that I felt like made them successful. And I'll use those with this artist in the booth on what they're recording or how they're marketing. And my goal is to not make it noticeable because there's not going to be any hints as to who that other artist was that I was basing it off of. That's one thing I feel like needs improvement in the music industry.
A couple of different industries, but that's beside the
point. Seriously.
I mean, I was on Twitter and one of my friends is like, I'm querying an agent, and I'm just to the point. It's like, I'm not going to bother. I'm going to keep staying in my lane. If I hit the bestseller list, awesome. But why do I want to give my money to an agent?
Right. Yeah, it's not worth it.
I mean, it's the same thing with the record business right now. If you want radio play, you better hit hard to get into a real record label, a big record label. Not saying yours is not. I did not mean any disrespect there.
No, I got you. Yeah.
But unless you want to get, if you want to get on the radio, then go hit hard. Try to get a big agent, but they're going to take money from you.
Right. Especially if you have something already on the back, and if you have endorsements or, you're getting side money somewhere else that you can rely on, then maybe a contract with an agent or a label is worth it for you because you could give them, the upfront costs or all that, or upfront profit, whatever, because you have all that side money. You're good. You can survive on that if you have to. But a lot of artists are signing these contracts blindly. And like, I'm always warning artists. Like recently I had an artist with a contract and I said, no, I want to meet you in person to talk over this contract because I want you to understand fully, so it's like those kind of things need to happen more as well. And like the sad thing with me running a record label is I'm too honest. So I'm not going to do any snaky things behind their back because like I have too much of a guilty conscience. There's no way I'd be able to live that down if I did that. So I have to be honest with the artist and be transparent because I don't want there to be any, like smoke or anything going down the road like that they're unsure of or, didn't trust me on or something like that. There has to be trust from the get-go and it has to carry on.
Well, and that's smart because you're going to get true talent and you're going to get people that are going to be there and support your company so that you're building something with a ground floor that's solid.
That's the hope. That's definitely the goal. Yeah, because I would hope honesty does bring true talent. Because I'm definitely not trying to sign any artists that sound like mumble rap.
No, because here's the thing: mumble rap is gonna have a sell by date. It's gonna
Oh yeah,
expire eventually.
yeah, but why hasn't it happened yet? Like, it's killing me.
I don't know,
Like,
but you know what I mean. It's like
yeah,
everything. 1 minute this is hot, next minute it's not.
right. And the scary thing about that is, like, usually with music and like how it evolved over the years, it's like, oh, okay, that happened. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh yeah, and then this person came out, did that. Kind of sounded like that guy back in the day, but he did it this way. It sounded good. But now you got mumble rap, and I can't even compare it to anything. I can compare certain elements to certain rappers that were in the '90s and stuff, but like the flow, the consistent flow, the way it's going, and how everybody sounds the same, the exact same. Even the production sounds the same. Like, I don't know where this is going from here. Like, that's the scary thing for me. I'm like, I can't even catch a grasp. Like, obviously the artists that are making it today or tomorrow are the ones that caught on and know where it's going because they're the ones doing it. But it's hard to say. I mean, because there's also like the rap out there that's like emo rap over like rock music, over like punk rock. That to me is kind of cool. Like, it's kind of like sing rap or whatever. That's kind of cool. Like Post Malone did a little bit, but like this mumble rap stuff, I don't know where it's going, and I'm very curious to find out. But I just hope they stop mumbling, and I hope it becomes more clear and more talented, and not so so hated.
Well, maybe they're high when they're doing it.
Yeah, but that's a good point. But the other thing about that is you don't have to be high to be talented. You
No.
don't have to, you know what I mean? And that's the thing that drives me nuts. Is like, okay, if they are high, well, how about you rap when you're not high? Because you probably sound pretty damn good. Like, look at like, not that it's too relevant, but look at like T-Pain with the auto tune. Everybody's like, oh, he sucks because he uses auto tune. He's horrible. Yeah, he can't sing. All of a sudden, he takes off auto tune. He sings. You're like, whoa, that's T-Pain. It's like, yeah, like behind that hidden thing, there's talent. That's why he is where he is. That's why he knows who he knows, because he has talent.
Well, Lady Gaga, which I know is
Right.
not rap, but Lady
No,
Gaga,
but
I remember when she really impressed me. It wasn't all of her dance tracks. I like her stuff, but was when she sat down at the piano on Saturday Night Live.
yeah,
And it was just her, the piano. And I was just like, damn, she's
yeah,
got a voice.
yeah, yeah. She's really talented.
But that's when you can sit there and strip all the artifice away, that it's like, okay.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing about her too is she's talented in multiple aspects. She's talented as a singer, as an artist, whatever, but she's also talented like as a brand manager, a brand ambassador. Like, she knows how to be an artist. She knows how to engage fans, how to make them believe in her, like, and like authentically, like totally like loyal to her. It's not like some fake front that she has. Like, this is like her, and she like basically has fans devoted to her. And I give her like a lot. There's a few other artists, but like I give her a lot of respect just for that aspect. The basic, the world she created. That's Lady Gaga.
Yeah. And I mean, she's owned herself. And what's fascinating is she had gotten into a perfume contract at one point, and it was nasty. She got out of it eventually, and now she has her own cosmetic line
Right.
that she runs and has created. So that's the one thing when I look back. All right, I'm in my 50s, okay? Early 50s. But the reason why I'm saying this is when I look back at my generation, celebrities didn't do this stuff. You had you had Elizabeth Taylor, and that was about it. And somebody else was branding her. And Madonna was a big brand. Madonna created her own brand, but it wasn't really a brand. It was Madonna.
Right.
Where Lady Gaga took it and made it.
Right.
This whole thing.
Absolutely. I mean, look at Taylor Swift, with her fan base as well, and like the fact that like people don't realize at a young age when she was signed, she was still hustling more than most people, even my age, are hustling today. Like, she would go record at a radio station an interview, and then in the bus on the way to the next one, she'd be writing a letter to that radio station saying thank you to them, and make sure that her mom or her manager mailed that to them before they got to the next one. Like, just simple things like that she was coming up with. And like, as a business standpoint, I look at that, I'm like, Jesus, like, such a simple thing, but it's also looked at like, wow, that's genius. But it's really not. I mean, that's not that
Yeah.
hard to do. It's like, it's just different things that these artists do that show respect, that show appreciation, to be where they are. Like now you look at Taylor Swift, Lady Gaga, and it keeps going. The list keeps going. There's a lot of artists like them right now.
And then talking to like some of the younger musicians that I've talked to, they are out there and they're touring. And yes, they talk about how they're going from one place to another. COVID kind of slapped everybody down.
No,
it was kind of awkward and Zoom became the thing. But,
yeah.
Now they're back at it and they're talking about their schedules and how grueling it can be.
Right. And that's the thing with music nowadays. And like, especially before the pandemic, it was bigger. Now people are kind of scared to go here and there. But I think this element hasn't changed, that in music nowadays, if you are an artist, you have to perform. You have to do live shows. You have to be somewhere where the fans can reach you, whether that is on a phone or computer, whatever, live stream. Like you have to be accessible. And that, the digital aspect of it is more relevant now with pandemic and everything. But before the pandemic, it was live shows. You had to do live shows, and one every week if you can. Like even if you did freaking 3 songs 100 million times one after another, you have to do those live shows, because not only did that build you as an artist, but it builds your fan base. You're going to be constantly growing and noticed. Your name's going to come up and be like, oh, I saw him, like he's been performing 5 times at that place, or she's been over there. Like that's the thing that most artists have to do that they don't realize. And especially now, like even me, like with Nerdy G and everything, like we're so busy with everything else we have going on that Release Duo isn't really set to perform just yet. We're releasing music and we're engaging with fans as much as we can one-on-one. And we will probably do some pop-up things here and there, but like it's so hard to navigate right now because of what's going on.
Is there a music video for
something new?
Mm-hmm.
There is something written. There is something coming. I will say that.
Something written for something new.
There is something written for something new. There might be something new coming out for something new. You never know. It'll be something new when it does come out. Yeah.
Well, I mean, some artists, they have that video released the same day. Some wait a little bit. That's why I was just curious if you had something there.
So usually releases, I have everything pre-planned. Everything's shot ahead of time. Everything's recorded ahead of time. Something new, something new was a little different. Something new was special to us because it was the debut. Now, I'm not saying as I'm sitting here talking to you that nothing's recorded, nothing's released, obviously, because we're talking about that. But I am doing this one a little bit different. If there is a music video, you'll understand the reason there is one. If there isn't, you'll understand the reason there's not one. But either way, there's definitely music videos in the work in general.
Well, and once again, Nerdy G having a baby, you have to go around his schedule, and I'm sure he works a normal job too, correct?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah,
you got to consider burning. Don't want burnout.
I'm still trying to learn how to pause the clock so I can get more done in the day, and I just can't figure it out.
Yeah. I was hoping I could have a clone or something that would make life a little bit easier, but it just I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, seriously. Like one time I was, someone told me that they were sick of working around the clock. So to help them out, I just moved the clock.
Funny guy. Funny guy.
I don't even know if that was a proper way to say that. So.
No, we'll just let that one slide. So they can find your song on Spotify, and you have a Facebook account, you have an Instagram account, and the Something New single is also available at riseup.net.
Yep. Yeah. So the best part about this song is everything we pretty much just talked about and on this podcast is pretty much what this song is about. This song was inspired based off of current events, different things that were stressing us out, different things that we thought were cool that were going on nowadays. Today, what's going on? We're like, we got to just write a song to let people know where we're at right now mentally, where we want, what we want them to see, where we've been, what we've been doing. And that's pretty much lyrical. That's what it's about. JOY comes on and gives his, angle with the chorus. And that's pretty much what the song is about.
So you mean it's not mumble rap?
No, No.
I'm kidding. I'm sorry. I couldn't resist.
Absolutely not.
Because you said it was what we talked about. So.
Yeah. Besides mumble rap, actually, I feel like the flow I picked out for it was to like, I don't know if I would say diss mumble rap, but to like go against mumble rap was why I picked the flow I did, to show mumble rappers that you can have a similar flow and not mumble. You could actually say words.
The reason I laugh is you're so adamant about mumble rap.
It's so bad. I get so sick of hearing it. And just the fact that, 2021's here, technically, on the back end of the pandemic, fingers crossed, and we're still hearing this stuff on the radio. It's just insane to me. Like, I thought at least the pandemic would bring out some sort of other, phase or something, but nope, didn't happen.
Well, maybe next year.
Something new. Yes. Something new is the new phase.
Yes.
Yeah. Something new is the new phase. It was released a couple weeks ago. Like you said, it's on Spotify, Apple Music. You can find it on YouTube and find it on our label site, rizeupent.net, riseupent.net. And find it there.
And keep this motto for the rest of the year. Something new for 2022.
That's a great idea. Hey, there you go. Yep.
Marketing genius right here. Not really, but.
Got it right down.
It works.
Oh, it works. Yep. I'm going to make it work. That's a good one.
It just popped in my head. So there you go. Maybe that's the reason you were supposed to be here tonight. Who knows?
I'll take it. That's valuable.
But I thank you for the conversation. Anything you want to tell my guests besides you already covered where you can get the single? Anything else?
No, I mean, pretty much just follow Real East Duo. Follow us wherever you can. We're at Real East Duo on SoundCloud, Facebook, any of the socials that we mentioned. And just, if you are an artist out there that, you're aspiring to be better or aspiring to get signed or anything, just take the proper precautions when doing so. Don't jump into things. Don't rush things. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. riseupent.net.
And always have your contracts checked over, whether you're a music artist, an actor, or an author. Always have the contract checked over.
Oh, 100%. Yep, I agree with that.
And yes, all your social links will be on the episode bio. So thank you. Thanks, guys, for checking out the show. It was a lot of fun to do. We had some good jokes. We had a couple of bad jokes. Yes, we admit this. And it's also really interesting, as always, to find a similar story. I had the opportunity to move out to California, as I said in the podcast, and so did he. And so there was that commonality, which you wouldn't even think. And I mean, yeah, there's an age difference and all, but there's still that similar journey. And as we're all human, we all share certain things, whether it be a trip to California that we could change our life, or just getting in a car and taking a journey somewhere else. We all share that commonality. So I hope you enjoyed the show. As Mazement said, if you're an artist, please reach out to him. He has a label. He's willing to talk to you. Make sure if you're going to get a contract from somebody, I don't care if it's, from a PR agent, I don't care if it's from a record company, make sure you read the fine print. It's always important to check that out, because while it seems like a good deal, I had a book contest. If you're a regular person listening to the podcast, you know that. I reviewed the contract, didn't like a line, and therefore I kept my book and self-published. So if you have any questions about contracts, please reach out to somebody, hire a lawyer, look and have somebody professional take care of you, because you don't want to get caught in something that's going to ruin your chances of your creativity being stifled. You don't want somebody to hold your stuff hostage. So reach out if you need to. And if you really like the podcast, please tell your friends and let them listen. They may be amazed, and they might find something that they really resonate with. And yeah, some episodes are not going to matter because it's not going to be something you like. But that's the one thing I strive to do with the podcast, is have you guys tune in, because you never know what you're going to get. Someday you may have a serious story. Another day you may have a happy story. Who knows? All I know is it's a better tune moment. And if you really do want to support the podcast, go ahead and subscribe to Patreon. So thank you guys for tuning in as always. And I greatly appreciate you. I really do. Just even you guys showing up means a lot to me, because it means I get to do this and it's connecting with you guys. So take care and catch you next time. Bye. You're listening to the Better 2 podcast with M.Needom.